Hey there, welcome to the replay of this week's Cash Offer Mastermind, where listings get unlocked and investors stop ghosting you. Well, kinda. I'm Kathy Ryan, also known as the Cash Offer Coach with the Alliance Group at EXP Realty. And if you've ever wished sellers would stop ghosting you, or that you had an offer in hand before the conversation even starts, you're in the right place. In today's session, we press pause on tactical empathy and opened up the floor for an open forum on how to win more listings using cash offers, even when the seller says, nah, I'm not interested. We're talking Zoodealio, iList, Express Offers, investor lists, dual closes, and how to Jedi mind trick your way into more listings with less resistance. If this is your first time here, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment if you've got questions or something that resonated with you. We always read them. Now, grab your coffee, your notepad, and maybe a stress ball for those investor texts. We get spammed with them, and let's dive in.
Wonderful. I mean, like I've never had I was a Coldwell banker. Then, I did this other thing where you pay a flat fee and they don't really help you. I've never had as much help in my life as I've had with EXP. And I'm like, I'm never gonna leave.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah. You know, when I started in real estate, 32 years ago, I was handed a purchase agreement and a listing agreement, which the purchase agreement I think was 3 pages long and mostly fill in. And the listing agreement was maybe 2 pages and fill in. And I was told to read both contracts, and then I was handed the white pages phone book.
Oh Lord.
And then I was told to start calling people and ask them if they wanted to sell.
Oh Lord.
That was my training.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, look, 32 years ago, I mean, I get it. I haven't been, I started in 2007 in the manufactured home business. I didn't have a real estate license. And
Hmm.
it's so different in that it was like you said, our deal was 5 pages, right?
Right,
And we could close. I had homes that I closed in 4 days,
right.
literally cash in and out the door, and almost all of them I double ended, almost all of them. So so it was no big deal.
Right.
But we crashed and burned, and it was bad. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, if I'm gonna stay here, I'm gonna have to get a real estate license. And so I did that in 2013.
Okay.
And so I've
Okay.
been on the. So now I can do both,
Hmm.
but my experience is much vaster in the mobile home business. I really understand it, so I have that advantage.
Right.
But it's not fun. It's not fun for the amount of money that you're gonna make. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's just not. So
Yeah.
I actually turn them down now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it too. Unless it's somebody that I know, um, if if it's somebody who was referred to me, a relative or something like that, a referral from a past client, then yeah, I'll take on a mobile home. But just to go out there and market them, no. And then, with the cash offers, which leading into that is most of these investors will not buy mobile homes.
No, because it's personal property. It's not on
Right.
unless it's on concrete, but basically it's not property. It's personal property, like a boat.
Right.
You have to think of it like a boat.
Yeah.
And my biggest difficulty as a real estate agent is when I worked for a mobile home dealership, the paperwork, the whole process was simplified. As a real estate agent, I still got to do the 26 pager.
Right.
I still got to do all this stuff, and the people are like overwhelmed, like, what is this? And they're not used to that.
Mhm.
So I just, it's too much for the little bit of money that you're going to make,
Right.
effort. So,
Right. Right. So, cash offers is an opportunity to go in and approach the seller with already an offer in hand And it's a tool to prospect. It's a tool to market, to get clients, and it starts the conversation. Especially, when you're working expired or for sale by owners, you can go in and offer them a cash offer and start that conversation. And as we were talking yesterday, is that cash offer solution, it comes at a price, for the convenience. And that's what it is. It's a convenience. And 95% of them will not take that cash offer.
It's kind of
So,
the same as if when you call an investor, the investors they always want to get a cheaper price. We
right.
get these. I'm sure you get them. I get these text messages all day from these people. I'm
Yep.
looking for a fixer. What's my next? And they're not going to want to pay anywhere near even what the market value is on it
No.
because they're just looking for something they could flip or whatever.
Right.
So I'm
Exactly.
thinking, and James kind of took me through the iList thing, so I understand really, like you say, the people once they see the offer, they realize they don't want to go that route. But I'm really into what Joseph said yesterday. Even though we know that they're probably not going to take that offer, I want to be able to completely understand it enough to make them know that if they decide to take it, I know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
Right. And I kind of sort of don't know. So,
Okay. So it's a matter of knowing the different products from the different vendors. So you have Zoodealio, which, for me started everything.
yeah, that's what James started me with too,
Yeah.
Zoodealio.
Zoodealio. And Zoodealio has their products. And let me pull up a client here.
Okay. So just so I know, we have Zoodealio, then we have iList, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then, of course, I also put in there EXP's
Express offers.
express offers.
The thing with express offers is you can't really use it as a marketing tool because you can't go directly to the seller with that cash offer in hand. With the express offers, the way they have it set up is that you have to make an appointment with the seller, do the inspection before you can submit the request for a cash offer.
Oh, so that see that's too much time leeway time in there for the people to find somebody else.
Right,
They want you to tell them something today. Like what? Give me
right.
an idea. What can I get? I see why we don't use express offers. Okay.
Yeah,
Now I'm not going to dive into that. I'm just going to scratch that one off.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Zoodealio, iList, and is there anything else? Any other one that we use?
um, well, I use iList and Zoodealio. Well, Zoodealio actually is also part of iList. So you can add Zoodealio on to iList for an extra fee. Um, with um, iList, you're getting different vendors here. So let me go pull up a snapshot of,
Yeah, I saw it yesterday. So those people are what? Are they contracted through to iList to be able to make those
yeah,
offers?
there's a
Okay.
partnership. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a partnership. So you
Okay.
have different vendors here. Quick Buy, Hillstone. Hillstone is new and they're only here in California.
Okay.
Um, and you can tell by the price. So as I was saying, you got iList, which you have the different investor partners. Also, those people that text you that, are bombarding you.
Yes.
I get
Yes.
two or three a day myself and
Yeah.
phone calls. I put them into iList. I'll have them text me their email and I already got their phone number or a good, cell phone number. And I will add them to iList, my investor list. So with a click of the button, and somebody wants a cash offer, it's going out to those investor partners as well. My own.
Oh, and so they put in, so they respond with their offer too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. 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 I kind of remember. that I actually started a list of those guys that text me all the time. So
Yeah, and especially if you're gonna dive into the pre-foreclosure world, um, those are good partners to have because
I was kind of afraid from what you said yesterday that this is not going to actually work because they don't have the timeline. That I mean, I know we're trying to get it fast, and but if they're already short with the bank is not going to accept an
well, this
even
isn't good.
shorter
Yeah,
set.
yeah, no, the bank is not going to accept a fee buyer on a short sale. So that's where you go to the other investor buyers that don't charge a fee. So these single close investors, these single close offers here,
Uh-huh.
they're not a fee based.
Okay,
Here it says fees. Um,
you got to share your screen.
oh, sorry.
Uh, the you said they're not fee based. Okay,
So here on
yeah.
iList, you got this single closed.
Which explain the difference between the single close and the dual close.
Okay, the dual close is where the investor buyer will go in and purchase the property from the seller. And then they'll do some minor repairs, paint, flooring, whatever, it needs to get a better price on the market. And then they'll relist the property and they'll relist with you. So you work with the seller on the first close, you work with the buyer on the second close. And let's say that the investor buys the property for 500,000. When the property sells, if it sells for 525 on the second sale, that $25,000, they give it back to the original seller. So the whole idea is, and especially working with the pre-foreclosures, is that yes, they need to sell quickly. A lot of times these um, homeowners are waiting till there's the last resort, which is usually when the trustee sale is scheduled.
Oh,
So
wow.
it needs to be a fast closing so they can sell quicker, which usually is not a full price market value offer. It's usually under. And then on the second close, when it sells higher, it'll go back to that original seller.
But doesn't that have to go back to the bank?
On a short sale, it would, but a lot of these people that are in foreclosure have equity.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have to deal with the bank like on a short sale, negotiating a short sale. And getting into a short sale is no, how I explain it is that there was a process of you getting the loan. So you had to supply the 1003, the application. You had to supply your bank statements. You had to supply tax returns and pay stubs and all of that. In a short sale, you supply the same thing. You got to fill out um, an income statement or a document
The 710
application.
or something that,
Yeah, an
yeah,
application, and you got to provide your bank statements, your pay stubs, and tax returns, as well as a hardship letter.
right,
How did you get into foreclosure?
right,
Okay. What was the life event that happened? And generally it's a life event.
right.
It's either a loss of a job, a death, a sickness,
Hmm.
something happened to cause the hardship. So you package that all together and you send it off to the bank or the servicer, and they do their underwriting just as they would to get the loan. They do their underwriting to get you out of the loan. That's the best way I can explain a short sale.
Okay.
And so they'll go in and they'll do evaluation. A lot of times it's a broker price opinion, a BPO.
Hmm.
Um, the the AVM, the automatic value,
Hmm.
um, is not accurate. We know that. You can go to
Right.
Zillow and find out what the price is, but generally it's either too high or too low, or whatever, depending on the community, especially in homes that are not in a track home community, because they're so different. Custom homes, you can't trust the valuation, an automated valuation on a,
Right.
a custom home. We know that.
Right. Right.
So they'll do a BPO, usually an interior, and they'll get their valuation that way. And based on that valuation, they'll agree to take less of a payoff. And they'll well, we're going to get into the weeds here, but they will forgive they won't exactly forgive the rest, but that, so say they, on this $500,000 loan, they owe, a home is valued at 500,000, but they owe 550.
Oh, they're upside down.
They're upside down. So basically the bank will agree to take the 500, and if it's purchase money here in California, that 500,000, that $50,000 that is short is forgiven. If
Okay.
they've refinanced, it's non-purchase money, and the bank will agree to the short sale, but they also have the right to go get a judgment and go after that $50,000.
Okay.
So that's the difference between purchase money and non-purchase money in doing a short sale.
Okay.
Back when we were in the housing crisis, there was protection under the California Bill of Rights, Homeowner Bill of Rights,
Mm-hmm.
that protected the homeowner from the lenders, the services for going back and getting that judgment to collect that money.
Okay.
But that's expired. So that's
So they
no
could now
longer
they
in
can still do
effect.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not unless we see another housing crisis, and I don't expect that, because homeowners that are in trouble generally have equity. I would say less than 90% are upside down.
Okay.
Um, if they purchased, I would say if they purchased in 2022, 2021, 2022, 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and they were a VA FHA or a low down conventional loan,
Yeah.
they very well may be underwater
Ah.
if they get in trouble,
Okay.
because the market has dipped a little in pricing, as we were talking yesterday here in Riverside County. um, Homes are selling 97% of list price. So we're not seeing the multiple offers. We're not seeing um, the prices go up over 100% of list price. And we're seeing a little bit dip in the market. When I pulled up the numbers yesterday, we were almost at a 5 month supply
Oh wow.
of inventory, which is not a bad thing, because before we were so short on supply that it was just driving these prices up.
Yeah.
And something had to give. The market normally goes up. You have an appreciation period and you have a
Mm-hmm.
depreciation period. We haven't had that in the last 20 years at all, because of the housing crisis, and everything crashing. The interest rates were artificially kept low, and it just became a feeding frenzy. Well, when President Trump, he wanted to maintain the housing market during his first term, he kept the interest rates low, which we were still seeing that real estate appreciation. Well, now we got an affordability issue because the interest rates are higher than 3 to 4%. So it's starting to balance out,
Oh
which
wow. I'm sorry,
is
because
a
I was
good
just
thing.
thinking the person I sold a home to in 2023, they were at 6.5 on the interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So now, and now I've been told by the daughter that they've been having trouble keeping up right now.
Sure. Yeah. And so now we need to start marketing to our sphere and getting these messages out, because, like you said, this person's starting to have trouble, which they haven't, the notice of default hasn't been filed. So we publicly won't know that they're in trouble.
Ah, okay. Okay.
But we
You're
can,
right. Cause
we,
yeah, cause only reason I know is because I'm have an inside scoop,
right,
but otherwise we don't know until till it's almost at the breaking point where you really don't have a lot of time to work on it.
right.
So
So,
that's what my concern was. How could I or could I use this cash offer to try to save them in some way? Um,
and you
but
can,
I can. Okay, so that's what I really want to know. Can I save people in some kind of way,
right,
or are they gonna be able to turn this down? But not if you have a 5 month absorption rate going on. That they don't have time for that unless they can come up with the money to get out of the NOD. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Hmm.
So, so the best product is the plus product. The thing is that the seller needs to have at least 40% equity. And the reason being is because they give them the offer. So like on this one here, the offer is 648. Their program fee, and like I explained yesterday, the difference between the institution investor buyers is you have your profit buyers for profit buyers, which are your wholesalers, your flippers, your buy and hold. So those are the investors that are going to go in and flip the property, or they're going to keep it as a rental. So generally, they're purchasing a property 80 to 70% of market value
Okay.
because they need to make room for their improvements to make that profit.
Okay.
Um, so, and then you have for your fee-based investor buyers, which is like Open Door and OfferPad. And these here on the dual close offers,
Hmm.
these are fee-based buyers. So this one here, this is a Zoodealio offer. So they're offering 648 on this property. Their fee, and this is all they make, they don't make any profit from the sale, is 6%. So you're looking at $38,000, a convenience fee for taking this cash offer. And then you have your normal closing costs, which generally are about 1%, your escrow fees, your title fees, recording fees and stuff like that. And then you have agent compensation. In this case, on this offer, it's 4%.
And who
So
came up with the
basically
4%?
from the investor buyer.
Okay, so they
Okay.
determined that they're only going to pay 4%.
Right.
Okay.
So, but it's also negotiable.
Right.
Um, so that 4%, it's a breakdown between the two closes, by the way.
Oh.
Okay. So you get 2% on the first close and 2% on the second close, or you can take 1% on the first close and 3% on the second close. That's up to you on how you want to do that.
But that's if you think it's going to sell for more on the
Right.
second end, so you get
Right.
a higher rate. I see.
You
Okay.
can do that. Okay. And then they on the first closing, they will give the seller 85% of the net. So they hold back 15% as a risk assessment. And the reason that they do that is because if for some reason the property doesn't resell for that 648, and it sells for $20,000 less, it's coming out of that $86,000.
So this person move, needs to buy another home, or let's say they were downsizing. They're looking at, they have to decide at this point, are they going to be able to survive the time it takes to resell the home, their other home, to see if they get that money back. So
Right,
they got to factor all that in. I see.
right,
Okay.
right. But if they're up against a trust deed sale, they don't have that time to decide.
Well, yeah. Okay. Okay. And this is cash plus under Zoodealio.
Yeah, it's in a cash plus. And I misspoke. So that 4% um fee, that's for the second closing. So you'd split that with the buyer's agent. On the initial close, they're giving you 2%. So it's a total of 6% agent compensation. And then this other 2% is closing costs. I don't know why they put 2% in there. It should just be the same as 1%. So, but generally, out of all the secondary or the dual close investors, this is how they work. There's always a program fee or a service fee,
Hmm.
and there's always a holdback. So that's why sometimes this doesn't work. Like on this particular client, it won't work because he needs to net a certain amount of money to purchase his next property.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. How do they manage when there's a holdback?
Right. So it's not going to work.
Okay.
But even though there's this cash offer on the table, I was able to talk to him and present him to this him to him and then turn it over into a listing opportunity.
Okay.
And he actually listed with me.
Okay.
So here, when you're presenting to it, you can add here what it would list for. And every time I'm presenting these cash offers to these sellers that have inquired about it, I am putting in there what I think it will sell for on the open market. Now, this is not accurate because we listed for it less because we're doing the online offers thing.
Oh, the auction thing. Okay, wait. But so this part where it says the open market, did you plug in those numbers?
I did.
Okay. Okay. So you have control over that. So
Yeah,
he can see clearly. See, because I know you don't want the client to feel like you're doing a bait and switch thing, you know?
exactly.
Um, so it's got to make sense that like I'm really trying to help you here, right? And I can't
Mhm.
I can't get past the fees that these investors are going to charge um unless we go traditional,
Right.
which you have to let them know that your absorption rate means that we might not sell this in a week.
Mhm.
And it's got to be priced right to sell so we don't have to go through this process of lowering the price,
Right.
right? So this commission, so you put here fees. So these fees are what, like closing costs and title, etc., all this stuff. Is
Agent compensation and estimated closing costs.
okay. So 6 point, so 7,000 on closing, and then the commission at 19,000. That's at what percentage?
Uh, this is at 3%.
3%. So
I think it's
that's
at 3%.
so that's a split between you and the buyer agent.
No, no. In this situation, I did not put buyer compensation in here because now with the change with what happened with NAR and all of that over
Yes.
agent compensation, I don't put that in when I'm presenting this to a seller, I'm only putting my fee in there. And
But you're telling them though that they
but there and then I'm having them a conversation with them saying that you can pay the buyer's agent if you choose to, and we use that as a negotiating tool when we receive an offer. That's how I'm presenting it.
okay. Okay.
So
Now, how many times have you, let's just say since this thing changed, how many times have you closed the deal where the seller got off not paying anything and the buyer had to pay it all?
um the last one I closed, the seller didn't pay the buyer's agent.
And how did the buyers get the money to pay the commission?
Well, it was an investor.
Oh,
Yeah, it was an
okay.
invest. It was a probate sale. The house was a disaster. And so the investor, it was one of these investors that text you all the time. It didn't go through this deal.
Okay. So you
So
got
that's
paid
why
from the
that's
seller, but you didn't have to pay this
right.
investor anything because he
Right.
just bought it. Okay.
Right.
All right. So
So,
basically, your answer is you don't have any buyers out there that are having to pay their own commission completely, right?
well, yes, there is. I mean, they're either going to work it in the loan as a credit and stack it on top of the purchase price, or they're going to ask for a seller concession. But somehow, it does get paid. It's just a matter of, being able to work it into the deal. Not, agents got really upset over this, and the real estate world's going to come to an end, that sellers don't have to pay buyers agents. Well, they never did. It's a matter of transparency and negotiation. It's always been, when you go into a listing, the seller would like to net the most possible, or they need to net exact a certain amount of money to make their next purchase. We always try to work out the numbers to meet that, including paying the buyer's agent.
Right. Right.
So, it really hasn't changed. We just have to talk about it more.
Okay. Because that part where you said the credit, the lender, because I've been told lenders are not going to help on this deal, but how do you, but then I heard the young lady that's, I forget her name, the one that's also a lender that started doing real estate. She talked about how the lender could, how you have to negotiate it in the loan, and but yet the lenders don't want to do the commission. So I heard you say they do they put it on top. So you're saying that the lender actually is lending this buyer enough money to pay their commission, and they're adding it on top of the cost of the home. So the buyer, if they have to pay their own commission, they are getting it through their loan so that they can pay
Right.
it back over time.
Yeah,
So
and
you're
that's
saying
just,
that is happening.
yeah. I
I
mean,
was told that wasn't happening.
the buyer, well, when you're doing the online offers, on these platforms, if the buyer, if you're adding in agent compensation, it's getting stacked on top of their offer. So we've been doing that for a while now, on the online offer platform, where the buyer's always been paying their agent. It's just been through the loan, and it wasn't named buyer's agent commission,
Okay.
because the commissions are getting paid with the buyer's money. If the buyer isn't putting money in there, whether it's cash or a loan, nobody's getting paid.
Okay.
When you think about it, right? Because there's no sale without the buyer's money.
Well,
So the
yeah, that's
buyer's
right.
paying
So
for it.
the price of the home, when you list the price, you got to factor in the commission in there somewhere, right? So I
Well,
get it. Well, you're
yeah.
saying, okay, so still it's the purchase of the home. They got to have enough money to cover that, which is, I got it. I got it. You're saying we didn't talk about it that way. We're having to change the conversation,
Hmm.
but the actual process hasn't changed. The numbers haven't changed.
The numbers haven't changed.
Okay.
It's just the conversation and how you approach it. And for years, I have been saying to my sellers, okay, my fee is this. Do you, or how much do you want to pay the buyer's agent? If
That's what
any.
I say too. Yes, that's what I always say too. And then I encourage them. But we also were able to, our deal was in the MLS. We had agents that could look and see who's paying 3%, who's paying 2%, and then they could choose, they could opt to not show that property,
Which is
right?
unethical.
Exactly. I understand that.
Yeah.
So that's the reason it changed. So how do you approach this with where do you change the conversation now? Because that's what I used to say. I used to say, well, if we want to get, your house sold, we need more eyes on the property. It's going to be better that that I can put it in here that we're going to pay the buyer's agent, XXX. And that
Mm-hmm.
was what I used to approach it at. What do I say now? How do I approach it now?
My fee is this. Are you open to giving any compensation to the buyer's agent? That, these buyers in this price range may be an FHA buyer, a VA buyer. They don't have a lot of funds to pay their own agent. They may need to work it into the deal. Are you open to that?
Okay. And if they say no,
Then, okay. If you say no, then that's fine. We will not work it that way. But I just, Mr. Seller, I want you to think about it. Um, we are not in the same seller market as we were. We're getting towards a buyer's market. Homes are sitting on the market longer. They're not selling for full price. You might want to think about being open to that. I'm not saying that to work the deal, it has to be, but it may have to be to find that right buyer. And by you not being open to negotiating the buyer's agent fee, you may be limiting your buyer pool.
okay, I got it. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now to get this thing started, you have to pay for Zoodealio and then pay an additional fee for iList.
iList is $99 a month, and you can add on Zoodealio through iList for $25.
But what if you, oh, well, okay, so wait. See, I because with James, he had Zoodealio first.
Right, I did too. Well,
How much?
I originally had it through Home Boss.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. It was through Home Boss. So you
yeah,
you paid how much for Zoodealio?
now have it because Home Boss doesn't contract with Zoodealio anymore, and I'm not part of Home Boss anymore.
Okay,
Um, I through iList, so I pay the $25 a month.
I see. So you don't just pay directly to Zoodealio. So we go through iList.
Right,
So so now you're paying 124 a month.
right.
That's a lot. Well, it's a lot for me right now. I don't have the business. You know what I mean? So
But
so how could I get started? Like when I was gonna do this with James with Zoodealio, there was a way for me to do like I forget what the percentage was, um, to do it through him.
mhm.
So I'm sure all that has changed now. So if you're doing iList and adding Zoodealio, um, for example, let's say I had a deal coming up right now and I want to do this. I clearly don't know how to do this. Is there a way to do this, let's say, under somebody else that already has it set up, like you do?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's willing to partner with you, I mean, we can talk um
I get it.
separately from this.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Okay,
can I
because it's
say
a
something?
possibility.
Yeah, hi
You've
Ron.
already hi. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago on the iList call. Um, Joe had mentioned that because somebody asked him about iList and Zoodealio and including it. He says, "Well, you can cut off Zoodealio because I think we still get pricing on there, but if you wanted to actually use it, you'd have to resubscribe to it. So technically, you could just do the iList, and if a deal came through Zoodealio that you wanted to use, you would from the iList site just go ahead and resubscribe so that you could get their dashboard or whatever
You
that they use.
could. You could.
I don't know. I've never done that, but that
Yeah.
was something that I heard Joe mention
Yeah,
about.
you could do that. The thing is, with me and Zoodealio, and let me share my screen again, is they have a home report. And I know that iList does too, but I think and it's all a matter of preference. But this home report, I think is better. It gives more detail. And I know that he's doing improvements. But for me, I like Zoodealio. They're the first company platform that I started using with the cash offers. So this is their home report, and it gets emailed out once a month to your prospects, and it gives them their value. It even gives the value in Bitcoin. So
Wow.
if you have any clients that are interested in Bitcoin, they can talk to a bot, ask it questions. It gives them the real value. Here, they can adjust it just as they can on iList. It gives them their equity. And if there's historical data, it'll give it to them too, as well as picking it up. But this is a newer prospect. And then it also has the cash offers attached to it. So every month they're getting a new cash offer.
But where the so I'm a little confused. So we have iList and we have Zoodealio. Which one is generating the offers?
Both, actually. So um if you have iList, you're getting Zoodealio offers too if you're subscribing to Zoodealio as well.
Oh, they're coming in the same feed. Okay,
Yeah, they're
I
coming in
see.
the same feed.
Okay.
So and then it tells them if they rent it out, rent to
Rent to
sell,
sell. Okay.
um, gives testimonials and stuff. So it's a really nice report. So I plug my clients into this as well.
Okay. So I see the value here.
There, and the other thing too is there's marketing material, which with iList you have your landing pages that you can post. Um, but also you get your landing pages here as well with Zoodealio. Um, but you also get marketing and videos and stuff, and new marketing material. Social media posts come out every month with Zoodealio.
But if
So
you had to choose one, let's say you couldn't incorporate them both and you just had to choose one, which one would you prefer?
I would go with Zoodealio,
Okay.
but that's my preference.
Okay. And the offers that you get, they look similar enough to the ones you get with the iList?
Well, so others than Zoodealio, you have Quick Buy, Hillstone, Zoom Casa, and Up Equity is a new one. Um, so you got you got four investors without Zoodealio. No, three investors without Zoodealio.
Okay. And so what's the difference? What is this the when it says the type like this I understand sell and lease back. I understand cash with repairs. Uh there's one scroll up a little that I saw that I didn't know what that meant. I know what traditional is. I know cash offer. There's
Cash
something.
Flex is just another name for the Cash Plus. Advantage Plus is another name for Cash Plus, and they work the same.
Okay. And instant means they just there's well, because that's a single close. That's why. Okay, got it. It's
Yeah,
not a dual close.
right.
And buy first, sell later.
That's where they'll go in and purchase the property and
Hold back.
rent back to the seller. Now, on these, again, there's a fee, and the rent is based on purchase price. It isn't based on market value,
Really?
on market rent. No.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, it depends the situation, and it's a convenience fee.
Wow, $73,000. Okay.
So, like on this rent back, so there's a rent management fee. Um, And let's see. Where is the rent? It's not on here. That's interesting. Oh, it's the amount of the rent. So in this one, the rent would be $6,300.
What kind of house is that? I mean, that's a lot of rent.
But
It,
it's,
it
it's based on the purchase price.
so
So,
so the market rent could be 3,000, but
right.
they got to pay six because they went through this deal.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's a convenience fee.
wow, that's a lot of convenience. Okay,
It's depends on the situation.
all right.
Let's see what these other um buy
Trade
first, sell
up.
later.
Oh, Freedom Lock. I wanted to know what was Freedom Lock.
Um, that's the same thing as I believe.
Oh, they got repairs in there. Okay,
Right.
offer lock cost. That's probably what it's about. So,
Yeah. So basically, they'll buy the property. Let's see. This is a new one. So with Quick Buy Lock, the Cash or Advantage Plus, we lock. Well, the offer will be locked in for 150 days while you list your home traditionally. Lock allows you to get pre-approved for a conventional mortgage and close on your new home prior to your current home. So basically, what they're doing is that they're going, and I think this is one where they go in and purchase the property for the seller, their new property. Yeah. They go in and purchase the property, the new property for the seller without selling their old property.
so they're using the old property as collateral,
Right. And
and
so,
they're doing the loan for them on the new home.
yeah, so basically they'll go in and purchase it for cash, the new one, the new home. So, which there's a fee too involved. You got to work out the numbers, but you got to figure out whether it's cost effective or not.
Yeah.
Um, for something like this to work.
Yeah, because
This
also while they're
program,
holding the old home, there's no commission happening for the agent.
yeah, there is.
Not yet. Not yet. Not
Well,
until
on the purchase,
on the purchase of the new home. That's right. That's right. And
yeah,
then so then you turn around, do you still get a commission when they sell the
yes,
original home too?
yeah,
Okay.
because it's a traditional listing. So, so the convenience of this would be in like in a hot market in a multiple offer situation, cash wins, hands
Yeah.
down, cash wins. So there's you pay a convenience fee for those. Zoodealio has the same thing. It's the trade-in. Um, it's not on here, but it's a trade-in offer. So there's different programs and stuff,
Okay.
but um the key, Rita, on how to work these is know the products, know them inside out, and then you'll be able to present them to the seller. The whole idea of this is to start the conversation. You know, we need to detach ourselves from the outcome. It doesn't matter if the seller takes one of these offers or if they list with us. That's their decision. And whatever's going to be best for our client. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's our fiduciary duty. And we need to be their trusted advisor.
Okay.
So,
What do I have to do to learn the insides and outsides of these programs? How do I go about this?
well, to really get the training on them and know them, you'll have to subscribe. And here in Zoodealio and iList, they both have trainings. And it's just a matter of being in the trainings and learning and, my mastermind, just be involved.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's just a
Do they
matter
give you a
of,
trial? Can you do like a trial on these so you have time like to do like a lot of subscription things give you a week or a month or something so that I could go in and just watch the videos?
um, you might, I don't know, iList used to, I don't know if it still does, but I'll put, my affiliate link in the
Okay.
chat
Okay.
for iList.
Got it.
And if you want to get on a call with Joe on iList, I can arrange that for you.
Joe. Who is Joe?
He is the owner of iList,
Oh,
Joe
I see.
Peterson.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's been on Larry's calls before. He was on Joseph's call.
Okay.
So, but we can do that. So
Okay. And who runs Zoodealio?
that's Kayla and Elliot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ideally I would subscribe to iList, and also if let's just say they both do a trial, I would subscribe to both so that I could learn them both at the same time, right? That makes
Mhm.
sense. Okay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right. I'm gonna work on that. See how that goes because I do
all
want to
right.
learn the ins and outs of it.
Well, thank you guys for joining. I hope you got something out of this.
I absolutely did. Thank you so much for doing it.
All right.
I appreciate it. I do.
And have a wonderful week. And I will be praying for you, Rita.
Thank you, darling. I do
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Kathy.
You're welcome.
All right. Take
Take
Okay.
care.
care. I
Have a
know.
Take
great
care.
day.
You
Okay.
too. Bye bye.
Bye bye now.
That's a wrap on this week's Cash Offer Mastermind. Thanks for sticking with us. Remember, 95% of the sellers say no to the cash offer, and that's okay. That's just your cue to get the listing. That's a wrap on this week's Cash Offer Mastermind. Thanks for sticking with us. Remember, 95% of sellers may say no to the cash offer, but that's just your cue to get the listing. I'm Kathy Ryan, your cash offer coach for the Alliance Group at EXP Realty, and I want to hear from you. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaways or your biggest challenge, and I'll reply back personally. And hey, if this has been helpful, please like the video, subscribe for more mastermind replays, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next session. Ready to turn this listing into real listings in your market? Book a free strategy call right now at the link in the description. No fluff, just listings. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.